chair that I commandeered from somewhere. I can't remember where. I didn't
And
actually go. Pardon?
we're live. I'm sorry, I shouldn't give you more warning.
Wow.
Joe was saying about his awesome swivel chair. We're live, everybody. This is Austin and Joey from Important Cool and previous YouTube joints on my channel. To our legions of fan. So, you know, there are maybe one or two people who watch this. Anyhow, we're doing our take on this year's comic book movies because all the major comic book movies are out so far. We're going to start talking with Deadpool. We're going to start the conversation with Deadpool because Joey here, the Deadpool movie is less controversial than the others, and I think that was an interesting way of framing it because I think for a lot of sort of, you know, moviegoers would say that Deadpool was the more edgy one and the other ones were more traditional. But those traditional movies are more controversial if you're someone like us who doesn't generally jive with a lot of what goes on in mainstream culture. But so we'll start with Deadpool. What are your thoughts?
I mean, look, I'm somebody who reads the Deadpool comics and loves the Deadpool character, and I just think that this was, I think this was really really brought out like Ryan Reynolds' kind of passion for that character, and I mean, like I really enjoyed it, you know, just because I enjoy the character. He's an endearing, if disturbing, character, and I think they captured that. They didn't try to do too much. It wasn't an ambitious film like some of the other ones. It wasn't trying to say anything in particular. It was just doing an origin story with a bit of black comedy, and I thought it really succeeded in doing that. Yeah, I just, you know, I'm a little bit worried about what they're going to do with sequels and stuff, but yeah, I think they really showcased the characters, and I laughed a lot during it. So yeah, I was pretty happy.
That's cool. I think it was my favorite. I wanted to do a best and worst. And Deadpool was definitely going to be the best, I think, movie of the year because it's totally watchable. It doesn't have any sort of like up its own arseness about anything. It doesn't.
No.
But the other movies, like I've seen in your, I think you've liked a lot of the other comic book movies this year better than me. But like a lot of the time, you said that these comic book movies, at least they ask interesting questions, even if the answers aren't very good, right?
Yeah.
Whereas Deadpool just sort of asks the question, how far can we push this? And the answer is too awesome. You can push it to awesome, and it'll be great. And everyone loves it. I mean, like, I've never seen anything with Ryan Reynolds that I particularly enjoyed that jumps to mind. But he fucking kicked ass in this. I mean, and it was watchable. The action was great.
Yeah. And the, you know, the supporting cast is good. The guy who plays Weasel, I forget his name, was you know, he was fantastic. And yeah, it just, you know, yes, it's as you said, it's edgy in the fact that it's an R-rated movie. It's got a lot of violence. It's got some swearing, you know, all that stuff. Which is really, it was what the fans wanted, and it makes me, in a lot of ways, it makes me kind of hopeful for comic book movies generally, because it was a movie that people who were passionate about the characters made because they were passionate about the characters, and it fucking succeeded. It took off, and a lot of people liked it, and it's just this really watchable, enjoyable movie. And yeah, I just think that you know, it just succeeds with everything that it tries to do. It doesn't try to do what the other films do, but it you know, it's really successful with what it does try to do.
Yeah, and I mean, I hear it's like one of the highest grossing R-rated movies of all time, or something like that.
Yeah. It's up there. I think it's one of the highest grossing Fox movies of all time. Like, it had one of the highest opening weekends of any Fox movie. Like, it gets beaten by things like Star Wars and and James Cameron movies, but beyond that, you know, it's right up there.
Yeah, and this is, well, I'm sure the budget for this was less than like the Wolverine movies. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure the budget for this was that. They even make a joke in the movie about not having the budget for any of the expensive X-Men. They've got like these sort of C-grade X-Men from like is that. I haven't seen the comics with this, so I have a completely uninitiated opinion. I had no idea about anything to do with Deadpool. I didn't know it was a thing until I was seeing the movie. So it was just like, wow. And it was
well, I mean,
my only complaint. So I'll do this first. My only complaint would be the set piece at the beginning took a little while, like the big crash at the beginning, which is sort of synced up with the credits and all that. Like if they'd had just like a little bit more with like of character and plot before that, because of that bit I was still skeptical. I'm skeptical, like, is this gonna be just like plow, bam, smash the whole time? And no, as soon as that bit's over, they get like awesome characters, like really like neat little tiny little funky little characters, good little, like the plot is clear and moves along at a, at some kind of clip. Of course, the only thing does the annoying thing where he could just go talk to his girlfriend and solve all the problems if he just, and she'd be cool with the fact that he's. That's the only, but that's like, I don't know, that's such like a trope. I don't know why they think that's necessary or whatever. But like, they came on strong with the action. Right, when they should come on strong with the character first, because the character really, I mean, the action was great, but the character really carries it along. I think you're probably right. It probably could have eased us into that a little bit better. But again, as people that came from the comic books, like we kind of, it was exactly we were wanting, and in some ways what we expected, but we were kind of a little bit afraid that it wouldn't be as good as what it might have been, and it kind of assuages those fears. My only hope is that they don't do something weak in the sequel, like kill off his girlfriend just to give him motivation or anything like that, like they do with a lot of movies, like Dawn and shit like that. Like, I just hope they don't do that, because she's actually in the comics. Spoiler alert, because we're still doing spoilers anyway. But yeah, in the comics, like, she actually has powers. She has superpowers. So it might be interesting to explore those in the following movie to actually make her more of a part of the movies. So yeah. So that could be. Yeah. I bet they will. I'd like to know more about. It seems like he's got a social universe. This character, which is kind of richer than is only sort of hinted at in the first movie. So, like the Deadpool itself, and all these other sort of bounty hunters or whatever kind of scoundrels he's hanging out. That's something they got plenty of space to explore.
Well, his nemesis / best friend from fairly early days, and then they had a comic book together. Is a guy called Cable, who has an enormously he has an origin story that could only happen in comic books. It's just enormously complicated, and they probably won't do his entire origin story. But they've basically said he's going to be in the next movie. So he's going to.
I don't know that. He'll probably be in the movie, and if it's a success, they'll probably will make his whole origin story, and it'll probably be about the time the franchise starts to get a little bit. You start to hear them crank.
Like you need you kind of need the X-Men, and you kind of need a lot of things to happen in the X-Men before you can actually do his origin story properly. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they do with Cable, whether they just skip the origin story and just make him just stick to the basics, which is what they did in the cartoon. They really just stick to the basics with Cable in the 90s cartoon. They don't try and do his complicated origin story. So that could be interesting if they do that. Now, do we want to get, so which was so you want to do best and worst. What was the worst for you?
Oh, definitely Batman vs Superman.
Yeah.
In terms of absolute, like in absolute, there's like, I know it's obviously from my point of view, but like Batman vs Superman was the worst, but I expected it. I hate Superman everything. I think it's stupid. I think Superman is a character. It was just like the first superhero they thought up when they weren't really, when they were still just trying to think up the idea of superheroes. You know,
Yeah.
it's like it's like sort of you know, like when before, like if you read early English, just as the language is forming, it's not really English. It's still something else. And you know, I don't know what the fuck. Like it just has too many powers and stuff. Like it, and I mean that's the thing. They had spent the whole movie dealing with the fact that they're doing a Superman versus Batman thing, where you know, and Superman's always gonna kick Batman's ass until he gets like the fucking kryptonite, right? And then when you get kryptonite, it means Batman's got a gun, and Batman doesn't use guns. And like, although I didn't like, it was bad, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it might be, right? Like I did kind of like their Batman and their butler, the Batman's butler. That was cool.
Jeremy movie plus.
Yeah, like they and how they have, you know, Batman is like, yeah, I'm a criminal, we're criminals. Like that's a more interesting Batman for me than a lot of the recent depictions, actually, where he's, you know, because it sort of delves into, it's a little bit sort of more dark, but I mean, still, I just like the whole movie just kind of felt really forced. It's like when, you know, Snickers stars in an ice cream or something. It's very much about, it felt very much about cross and introducing Wonder Woman and her introduction. Crap, they don't introduce her. She's just there, and there's this photo of her from 100 years ago, and she shows up with no story arc. No, I'm just here now, fighting this bad guy with you till the end. Yay, we won. I'm Wonder Woman. It relies on everybody knowing already. Yeah. You know what I mean? There is no like for a kid watching for the first time, who do they think Wonder Woman is? You know, like she's just, I don't know. Yeah. And but of the Superman franchise to begin with, I just feel like it's kind of goofy. I mean, he takes up his.
I don't have particular love for the character Superman as such. But I kind of like this movie because I kind of saw it try as and look, it's a little bit clumsy, but it's sort of trying to do you know, some of the ideas that they bring up in Watchmen about would superheroes be a good idea really, and they're trying to do that with existing superheroes and say, look, you know, if Superman was around, would we want this guy independently with no authority from anyone going around doing whatever the fuck he wants, kind of? Yeah.
I don't get. Sorry, as soon as they showed Batman observes Superman, terrible vigilante, and Superman observes Batman and goes, "What's this vigilante doing? He's vigilante."
Well, that's hypocrisy.
And they're both like, only I, you know, this kind of ties into my other worst movie, because in the end, both like, I'm the only one who should.
Let's finish with Batman vs Superman. So
look, that's exactly the same sort of question that they're playing with Captain America. With Captain America, that question has this political connotation because the Superman is the superpower. The two are bound up as in geopolitical superpower, right? As well as superpowers. The two are completely bound up in a way that's also reminiscent of the Watchmen, right? Like,
let me just talk a little bit more about Batman vs Superman first, because you know, I actually think that it's sort of saying, you know, I kind of felt like I enjoyed it because I thought it was interesting for kind of posing that and saying, and yes, there's the hypocrisy between the characters and all that stuff. But I guess I was willing to overlook some of that just because it was sort of looking at that stuff and looking at that accountability side of things a little bit. And I guess the counter thing, and one of the things that's missing from Watchmen, for instance, since there may be spoilers for Watchmen, is supervillains. There's no, other than the superhero who ultimately turns out to be a supervillain. There's no supervillain, right? In the Watchmen, for instance, there's no superpowered.
Well, there is.
Yeah, well, there's no. So like, I guess what I got out of Batman vs Superman is, I guess, like, in a world with somebody that you can't kill with nuclear weapons, you need somebody else who can't be killed with nuclear weapons to kind of fight them, and so that's kind of a defense of superhero comics in a way. So yeah, I mean, look, I kind of enjoyed it. I totally, I agree with your criticism, but I guess I just didn't feel as strongly about those criticisms of what you did. Now I'm interested in your perspective on Captain America, because you had a totally different interpretation from what I did. You kind of, yeah. I want you to share with me your interpretation, and then I'll yeah.
Okay, with both Captain America and the Batman vs Superman, though, it's like, but we've already had the Watchmen, which is this like much more sophisticated look at those issues, at the same issues as they did.
Oh yeah.
So that's another reason. The Watchmen was a big Hollywood movie too. It's not like some little cult thing that these people haven't seen.
Not many people watched that, and
did they? Why not? Why are people so stupid?
Yeah, I know, because it was too. I mean, like, it's funny because it actually got criticized for being too close to the original, to the comic book. Which it is. A lot of the scenes are literally word for word, panel for panel, like from the comic book. But they got criticized for that. I think it was just went, like it just was. But he made up a whole different world to do the Watchmen. He created a totally different world to do the Watchmen. This is kind of bringing those themes into the superhero comics that are ongoing, that people are still reading, that people are still watching movies of. The Watchmen is its own thing. It's one piece of literature. It's one piece of fiction that kind of, and Alan Moore has said that he was trying to end superhero comics. He realizes now that that might have been a bit ambitious, but yeah. So yeah, like I think it's interesting to kind of take those themes and sort of put them in a kind of simpler existing superheroes.
Okay, let's get on to Captain America, right? Okay, and Civil War, right? Okay, a little bit of a preamble. Captain America, the Captain America franchise has been a fascinating journey of self-discovery for me. Because like a bit of background here for anybody who ever watches this. We had one viewer, but they're gone now. But for future archaeologists of culture, when they're through the wreckage, so they can understand me and Joe used to actually read comic books together in primary school. I think Joe probably introduced me to comic books, or was part of the crowd that introduced me to comic books. Yeah, but I mean, like, we would read X-Men and stuff like that. When they were newer. I mean, Spawn was my favorite, right? And like, I never saw the movie. I still haven't seen the Spawn movie because I sort of know in my heart that it's probably the original comic wasn't as good as I thought it was at the time. And if I watch it now, it'll be that bad, plus like even worse because Hollywood. And it'll just be an awful experience. But so I haven't watched that, but like So, but when you said the Captain America, the Captain America movies, Winter Soldier, was worth watching, and I was like, okay, we'll try this, like, because I need to see what the fuck's up with Joe if he thinks this is good. Anyhow, I mean, it's Captain America. It's so awful. So what I did was, I hate watching sequels without watching the original. So I went back and I watched the original. And in the original, they do this. They're like, okay, so clearly Captain America is part of the propaganda war machine thing, right?
Yeah.
So they make that his backstory. His backstory is that he was like a showbiz performer to raise money for the military. You know, like, and I thought that was like they're sort of facing up to it. That's kind of clever. And then the rest of the movie was, man, you know, America comes and saves the day. No Russians shown anywhere in the depiction of World War II. You know, the usual kind of thing. Because there were no Russians there. Like, it was America.
It was all America.
Germany. That's World War II. You know, but overall it wasn't too bad. And I mean, that's like compared to the sort of standard that I was expecting. And then Winter Soldier, I thought was really remarkable because it shows as the surveillance state, or the government gone wild, which is corrupted and infiltrated by this thing Hydra. But like the big thing that they're fighting are these giant fucking floating satellite war machines, which are obviously kind of like a monster mutated drone or something of that nature. Represent the security, military, industrial complex, industrial whatever, right? Skynet, the NSA, and all that shit was on trial, and that's pretty standard, right? But normally when that's happening, in the movie, the hero is like a Neo one like outlaw figure. Kind of thing, whereas here it's like, no, I am America's old values coming back, the values of the greatest generation, the values of the people who, when they were in unions, by the way, back then, like this, the generation that fought the Second World War were in some ways more progressive than generations that followed, including us and like the baby boomers and stuff, in the sense that they were sort of involved in civic life at the level of the union. They were, and that's the era when there was a real belief in democratic values, I feel, to some extent. I mean, that might be entirely mythical. But I associate that with the sort of post-war boom, and America for all, like an egalitarian spirit as well, right? And that was interesting to me. That made me quite optimistic. I mean, one of the things about watching, sometimes I'll watch really trashy movies that I don't think I'm going to enjoy, just because I feel like it's, these people probably have a better sense of where the zeitgeist is, so to speak, than I do. And one of the things you notice is increasingly the movies are moving sort of left politically. Like in the last Batman movie that I saw before Batman vs Superman, forgive me if I've missed an installment, I probably have, probably the several, was the one with Bane, the one where Gotham City is cut off from the outside world. So I say that again?
That was the most recent one, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And see, that was when Catwoman's introduced. She's like sticking it to Bruce Wayne for being like, you're such a rich prick. I'm going to go steal your shit now because you're too rich, you rich fox. Richie, rich fox, fuck you. Right? It was like Occupy had just happened, and they're like, okay, so let's make her a sort of Robin Hood type figure. And even Bane, like Bane is this revolutionary figure. And what's interesting is that he turns out he's not a real revolutionary ulterior motive, right? Whereas previous propaganda movies, previous movies like this, the revolutionary would be a real revolutionary, and the reason you have to stop them is because that can't happen, because the order must not be overturned, right? Because what we do is, this is America, everything's good, right? But in the end, there is no justification of the status quo offered in that movie, right? And it ends up being the only reason you don't want the revolution is because the revolutionaries will be, you know, Jacobins or Stalinists or not jobs, and there is no defense of the order. And anyhow, so when Winter Soldier came out, I was like, this is awesome. This is really good. So, you know, there were Bernie Sanders supporters painting him as Captain America, like merging the two images. That's what I'm saying. The older, the sort of American values of the mid-century coming back. And then this one, it seems to me to be, you know, like with all that history, that's where I think why I see the movie so differently to you, right? Like, because you were saying you thought it was about government or individual freedom, whereas I was like, clearly America is Captain America and the UN is the UN. And so to me, before I saw the movie, I was sure that Captain America was going to be on the side of the UN. I mean, that's the generation that established the UN. Like, my great uncle fought in Korea under the UN thing, and he has, you know, always had this great feeling of the UN having been betrayed by the nation states who didn't live up to the promise, and there was going to be an end of war, and, you know, like these really lofty ambitions of the UN. So I assumed that, because I had a vague idea of what it was about, but that Captain America was going to be on the side of the UN, and Tony Stark was going to be like, nah, fuck them. I'm the military-industrial complex. I'm the dark side of the force. I'm the maverick. I blow shit up and spew diesel fumes in everyone's face and say fuck you, and be the guy who didn't give a fuck, right? And then they flipped that. And that didn't make any sense to me. Why is the military-industrial complex in favor of the UN, right? Because he's Iron Man. He's an embodiment of that machine, of the war machine is, you know, part of his franchise, right? Is another guy in the same suit, right? And then they, to make the Tony Stark side of things not the obvious winner, they have the pro-UN side do stuff where they're arbitrarily detaining people and they can't get lawyers and it is locked up without charge and stuff like that, which is exactly what American unilateralists want to do and exactly what people who are in favor of the UN don't want to do. So on every level, the political, like, to me, it just like it asks questions and the answer it gives makes no sense. Like, it asks all the questions are poorly thought out and the answers are sort of mumbled and deliberately murky. Like, they're backing away from the position of social critic that they took in the first one. And one more big bitch. There were too many characters and they didn't have enough time to do awesome stuff, and there just wasn't enough action, right? So like they needed way more action in that. No, there was a lot, but like, you know, the big airport scene where they're fucking everybody up at the airport, right? How come when Vision shows up, they do this big thing. It's like he's like, and here I come now, and they're like not so fast there. This and like, oh my god, what's he gonna do? He's got mad powers. What's he gonna? He doesn't. What does he do? He doesn't fucking, you know, like really get in the fray because anyhow. So to me, it didn't deliver where it needed to deliver.
They really downpowered both him and they downpowered Iron Man a lot as well, so they could have, you know, this hand-to-hand fighting between Iron Man and Captain America. See, I interpreted it in almost the opposite way from what you did, and you know. It's really interesting that we have these different interpretations. So, so I was coming from a place where I'd read the comics, and in some ways the comics are talking about what are on that side as well. Like the comics where they were going to have a thing where all people with powers, all vigilantes are going to be on a registrar, and you know, that was Iron Man's idea. He was gonna have registration and accountability for all superheroes, but all the superheroes led by Captain America were worried about what were going to be the consequences of that. The bad guys are going to come and get us. All this other stuff, right? And that was their opposition to it. How I interpret it is that Captain America was sort of saying, I sort of interpreted it as Captain America in this case doesn't represent America as such, that, or at least not America's government, and that the UN side was, yes, they made it the UN rather than the US government as a way of making it more reasonable, as a way of making it a stronger two-sided argument. But really, the UN is more saying these are the kinds of things what the governments do, and the CIA take the side of the UN, and they say that when he's talking to that CIA agent, she says we've got orders to.
Well, they should have.
Hold on.
They should have kept it. Sorry. Just 1 second. 1 second. If they kept it in the way the original like was in the comic books, I probably would have enjoyed it much more, right? Because the CIA having lists of people but I would also say this is a lot like the plot of X-Men, But at the same time, you've got all these people who are going around beating people up, imprisoning them, with enormous power. I would actually kind of want those people registered. And I think that's when I think about it as well, what are comic book superheroes? They are essentially, people who go around on their own steam privately, going around beating people up, imprisoning them, and yes, because we as the comic book reader are in some ways the surveillance that would otherwise go on, we can take the side of those comic book heroes without needing to worry about whether they're accountable and stuff. And you go in with certain expectations. When you're reading it, there's an implicit promise in the sort of rules of the genre that your hero isn't going to be a really bad guy, and that when people and a lot of the movie, like over time, that rules are made to be broken, right? And that's what we've sort of seen during our lifetimes. Is the erosion of that rule as well is one of the changes in the genre.
So to me, in this Captain America, and again, I still disagree with the conclusions the movie comes to, but Captain America is to me is representing more, the traditional superhero of we act independently, look at the terrible things the government does, and Kingsman. The movie of Kingsman, I remember at the very beginning they said, "Oh yes, we're not accountable to any government," and they were saying this as if it was a good thing. And so, I saw it as the UN is representing the government side of things, and we wouldn't want the government. And Captain America is saying, "No, we won't want the government because look at all the terrible things governments do, and governments do terrible things." But I still would take the side of the UN because the UN, So ultimately, we're still both supporting the UN side, even though the movie doesn't take that side. But yeah, I think the UN is partly representing America rather than Captain America representing America. That was how I interpreted it. Was that it's more Captain America was more representing the superhero.
In this version, the UN takes the role that is in this version, which is in the comic book version. You see, that's interesting, right? And then it becomes a government going after a list of individuals, which brings it closer to, like I said, the plot of the X-Men. We might be in a good spot to jump over. It's weird. We've got this. It's one of the things I was about to say is that we see different things in. Yeah, go on.
There's one more thing about Captain America. Beyond that, I mean, like. I really liked a lot of other elements to it. I liked the personal thing between. I like Robert Downey Jr. in this, and that scene where talking about action, and I agree with you that there are some things that could have been done better, but that scene where they're in Bucky, they start out in Bucky's apartment, where Captain America first finds Bucky again, and they're in his apartment, and then they do that escape scene. Like that's like some Jason Bourne shit for me. Like that's like not even like that's like the first Bourne film kind of, you know, like, so I really enjoyed that first scene, and they come across the Black Panther and all that stuff. So there was a lot of good stuff like that, and there's some good humor in there and stuff as well. So yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it a lot more than you did. But yeah, I can see where you're coming from, and probably if I'd interpreted it that way, yes, I would have been a little bit more. If you want to, if you really want to get angry, what's the TV series Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., because that is so pro surveillance state crap. It's just
believe it or not, I don't actually want to get angry. I don't want to get angry, and I don't enjoy it.
I know.
People don't believe it. People don't believe it when I say it. People don't believe it. Of course you do. Shut up. But it's like, it's not true. It's not true. I don't, you know, I don't. Yeah. So that's why I can prove that I don't want to be angry, because I will never watch that show.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the. I mean, there's so much crap on TV justifying, you know, authority is always right. You know, the rules should only apply to people who aren't the state, because when the state has to follow the rules, they get beaten by the criminals, and that's the worst thing ever. And no, and
24 being the classic example of that. And
people who refuse to torture are moral weaklings, you know, because they love the terror, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Fucking crap. So I mean, that's my big disappointment. Was like, I was like, Captain America, I was like, oh my God, it's true. Hollywood is liberal. I had, you know, like, it's not as far left as I want, but in America, that's a liberal position to be taking. That was a big step down. I mean, but okay, one thing I was going to say was, you know, people always talk about good movie making is like good dreams, right? One of the things that Freud says happens in a dream is you know, a bunch of different ideas get pushed into one image, right? So the fact that you take different readings from it, from the movie, is probably a sign of, you know, like that it's got some. One of the other things dreams do is they make associations sideways and thematically from one topic to another, and I think it's a great time to jump over to the X-Men, and my interesting news for the difference between the idea of the list, you know. I've always, Joseph Stalin proved the most deadly weapon in the world is a list. You know, with the right lists, you can control everything. And that's also an interesting place the superhero movies often end up going, because the information is the ultimate power, you know. And in fact, like, all the force in the world doesn't matter if you don't know where to blast, right? And so in the X-Men movies, it's slightly different, right? Because they're mutants. They're not actually people who are making a choice to go out and be vigilantes. So them being on a list is much more like an ethnic list, much more like the Holocaust, which is always there in the background of the X-Men, which is, you know, which says something about the depth of, you know, made for kids. The X-Men comics originally, at least, that has that depth of his sort of historical setting and sort of, you know, awareness. It's a very different, and I've always thought richer moral universe. You know, the bad guy Magneto is not necessarily always the bad guy.
And he spends long periods of time being an X-Man. So yeah, it's you know, X-Men's always been, to me, the Avengers have always been much more interesting to me when they're fighting each other. The X-Men have a richer bunch of villains, if you will, to fight against, and they're their villains always have they're people that we've seen. They're kind of caricatures of people that we've seen, and that we see a lot. And Apocalypse, for instance, was one of those. He actually was created during the Reagan era. Now, I don't know whether this was something that the authors or whatever were thinking about at the time, but he's created in the kind of Reagan Thatcher era, and he's got this very social Darwinist idea of, it's going to be survival of the fittest, and we're going to drive it down people's throats. And what was really one of the many things that was really disappointing about X-Men Apocalypse is this Apocalypse is just a general evil guy who wants to destroy the world just for shits and giggles, basically, just because he's a really powerful ancient guy, and
he's bad, and he's a bad guy, and we don't need much of a backstory for him. I mean, the stuff in Ancient was like done pretty well, but like there wasn't any. It's a mirror of the criticism I said about Deadpool. It just starts with all this action, right, before the characters, right? Like, and I'm not one of these people who thinks action is trash. Like I want movies to like maybe go, whoa, fuck, at some stage, in a way, as much as the next guy, but the start is like all these characters you don't care about dying in the collapse of the pyramid, and then Apocalypse comes ready made. But here's the other thing, right? Like, and to me, Apocalypse timeline was my favorite bit of the X-Men comics, right? And I'm like
traveling back and forth in the future and all that stuff. You mean?
Yeah, well, no, because Magneto was the main good guy. Am I crazy? Am I crazy? Am I remembering the comic?
Oh, you mean the Age of Apocalypse? Oh, that's a whole other thing. No, this isn't Age of that was like somebody went back in Age of Apocalypse in the comics was somebody went back in time and kills Charles Xavier, and so it's looking at, okay, if there's no Charles Xavier, Apocalypse takes over the world.
I thought we were going to get that after the time travel plot with Wolverine in that last movie, which was stupid, where they're all standing around in their leotards going, woo, while Wolverine has a movie. They're all in the future. No wonder, anyhow.
Look, yes, the future scenes in that were kind of silly, but I enjoyed the rest of that. Yeah,
it was like we've had too much Wolverine. X-Men isn't just about Wolverine. They knew that, and they gave us a movie without Wolverine in it. But okay, so I thought we had the time travel plot, and then we're gonna have the Age of Apocalypse, and that was sick. That was the most sick part of the entire X-Men, and that's the thing, is because it's like Magneto's character is the pivot of the X-Men. Everything on the relationship between him and Charles, right? You've got this central friendship and frenemy thing going on, which is the crux of the whole universe. And then when Magneto is sort of the bad guy, and he's the one that the humans are afraid of, right? Until the Age of Apocalypse comes, when, spoiler alert, right? Apocalypse is fucking just killing a lot of humans. And it's all of a sudden Magneto's on our side, and Magneto's the good guy. It's like, he might be a crazy asshole, but at least he's out. It's like, when he's on your side, it's pretty good, right? When he's on your side, he seems like a really great guy. And that is...
But we already knew that wasn't going to be the case with Days of Future Past, because you see him travel back to the quote-unquote present, to the future time already in that film, and it's all, everything's hunky-dory. So
you're right.
I don't know why you had that. That would have been cool. That would have been a good movie. But I'm not sure why.
That whole bit by having was that why they had to have that movie, so they wouldn't have the Age of Apocalypse?
No, they had to have that movie, Days of Future Past, so that they could cancel everything from X-Men: The Last Stand, which was a total disaster and destroyed everything.
Yeah.
So Days of Future Past kind of said, yes, everything that happened in the original X-Men movies didn't happen, and we're going to redo everything. So it was like a reboot without doing a reboot.
Yeah, that's good. See, but so that means they might still do Age of Apocalypse, but we can touch briefly on Last Stand. I've always thought, like, sorry, this is the X-Men, right? Like, how did they miss this, right? They have Jean Grey, because they've gone completely off book by the end of that movie, is my impression, right? Like, they were making it up for themselves at this stage. They have Jean Grey, who, by the way, is such a shitty, weak character. She just kind of gets handed from person to person like a tool that they use against the other person. She doesn't seem to have much of her own free will, which is stupid. She's the most powerful one. And what happens is that, and then they've got this guy who makes everybody's powers go away, right? And her power is too dangerous and is destroying everything. And his power is this like anti-power that sucks away your power.
Leech, yeah.
And they get like to the same island. They're like 100 meters from each other is taking place. And I'm like, they're gonna like hug, and it's gonna be a symbol about how all our different diversity is what makes us better, and how, you know, how we complete each other. And it'll be a nice message about how humanity can come together. And it's like, no, it's a message about how sometimes you just have to stab your girlfriend.
Yeah.
You know, like, even though it's hard. And you know, sometimes men just have to stab women with knives on their fists.
Yeah.
You know, and violence. Yeah. Like, how did they miss that? How did they take a year or whatever the fuck it takes to write and shoot that movie and not think of that possibility once they introduce those characters? So
the whole movie is like, it's impressive for them 10 falling film.
And then,
but yeah. So what we on this film, other than the fact that it wasn't the age of Apocalypse?
Oh well, you see, that was my whole thing. I thought, well, he's called Apocalypse, right? You can see how I got mistaken.
Yeah.
So what's the basis of this in comic? What's the basis of this in comic?
So in the comics, and this was in the cartoon as well. He kind of he's this guy. He starts out sort of being in the shadows, but he's this ancient, as it says there. I don't think he's been asleep for 3,000 years in the comics, but he's this ancient, super powerful mutant. He doesn't absorb other people's powers, but he's this ancient, super powerful mutant, and his thing is he wants to promote mutants because he believes in survival of the fittest, and he just wants to put people in situations. He thinks that basically destruction is the way to get the cream to rise to the top. And what he does in the comics and in the cartoons that he doesn't do here is he takes people who are somehow broken or are really depressed, and he says, you know, I can help you. He doesn't say, I'm Apocalypse, I'm going to destroy the world. Come with me, like he does in this, which makes no sense. Who would join that guy, other than just total psychos? And he sort of says, yeah, no, like I'll help you out. And that process of him, yes, he does make them physically stronger and more powerful, but in the process, this process actually corrupts their minds and makes them, you know, destructive and all this stuff. And he kind of goes out. Now, if they just done something pretty close to what was in the comics, it would have been an all right movie. Again, I think they had an opportunity to go beyond that and have a political bent, but then maybe that would have been too political. Maybe they would have alienated, you know, Republicans. But they didn't really do anything. Like, he didn't have any motivation. Magneto, like, I really enjoyed the first half of his arc up until basically when he meets Apocalypse, and then after that it makes no sense. Like, yeah, they killed my daughter, so I'm going to, in a very depressed state, I'm going to destroy millions of people by magnetizing buildings and shit like that. Like, it made no sense.
That's exactly it. Like, he's depressed, he's depressed, but then he's also like performing this incredible feat of like zealotry. Like, is he depressed, or is he angry, or is he into it, or? But his character's kind of like the whole time. I mean, like, I think Fassbender's a pretty good actor, but I don't know what his character's just got no. And like Magneto wasn't that much of a bad guy as well. I don't remember him, like, just like in the comic books, he doesn't like, now I'm gonna kill everyone in the factory because one of you might have snitched on me. You know, he finds a snitch.
Look, that.
I mean, maybe he would have hurt other people, but he wouldn't be just like kill them all, would he?
Well, actually, like, that is something that's kind of taken from the comics. He doesn't do it in quite as cold-blooded thing as that, but like, he finds his daughter dead in some town or something, and then they've got guns, and he gets the guy to just shoot everybody. Now, I don't know if he just cold-bloodedly shoots all his friends or anything like that. But there's something totally like that. Different. But it's much less cold-blooded than what he does. Yeah.
Yeah, like, they came back, they brought guns.
Yeah.
This is when he goes to the factory. But most people had nothing to do with it.
But he's killed. I mean, he's done things that killed, many people before. Like, he's done things. He's done some pretty heavy shit, but nothing in the order of like what he does in this film. Like, like there would have been tens of millions of people, and then like at the end, it's like Charles is just like, okay, and he's not. What's worse is that he's not under the influence. Like, there's no evidence that Apocalypse is somehow unduly influencing any of these characters. Like Storm, right? Why would she? Like, there's no reason for her to have joined him. Psylocke is a non-character in this. The chick with the they just made it a laser sword in this. The power's a little bit different in the comics, but and what's funny about her laser sword is, she can cut through like metal, but she can't cut the beast's head off. She has to strangle the beast with her laser things. I didn't get that. But yeah, like, Psylocke is a non-character. The Angel is a non-character. He has like 2 lines, and they're like, "Get me out of here" or something. Storm has none of these characters have any real motivation to do what they're doing. It just the film. Like, the whole side of the film just makes no sense.
They're not good at figuring out how to do bad guys and good guys anymore in movies, because you're not allowed, like, they're so worried about being political that they don't know how to have a moral sense in a movie anymore. I mean, like, fucking Apocalypse in the trailer, he's firing all the nukes. I'm like, he's gonna nuke everybody. Right? And then it's like, no, the terrible thing he does is he disarms humanity of all its nuclear weapons. No, America doesn't have its nukes anymore. If we don't, what are we gonna do? Fuck you, man. Fuck, what's the implied message there?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Oh no, what if America was disarmed? Wouldn't that be terrible? Then what? There's like, it's I guess it's meant to be a twist that, because the nukes are going to go up, and then you're like, oh, but they don't come down. But it's just like a massive letdown as well. It's like, well, that's less dramatic.
Yeah. It's weak. But that being said, I do want to say, like,
I remember Magneto like hurling, like doing shit to the whole of the Earth's magnetic field, for example, and like damaging it severely. But that's when he feels like he's in a declared war, basically. With humanity. He's like, I'm fighting on the side of mutants. Humans started this war, and if you come with a gun, right? Like that's a very different morality to someone who's like, someone here snitched me out and caused someone in my family to get killed. So I'm just gonna murder you all, right? Like he could. I can imagine him like using like the comic book Magneto would like have them all like chained up in the fucking factory in about 2 seconds flat and be like, so now somebody snitch to me, but and it was like my favorite X-Men character because he's got that duality, He's a little bit higher than Osama bin Laden, you know.
He's not well done in this film. But yeah, like I said, I think up until his daughter gets killed, his arc is good. It's just they fuck it up from there. But like there were good things in this, you know, like in Days of Future Past. I really like the Quicksilver scene. I think they're really clever. There are some. I think the young cast does a good job. Sansa Stark, what's her name? Sophie Turner is a good Jean Grey. I thought she did a pretty good job. You know, there are some good moments in the film. I thought the whole thing, even though it was kind of immaterial to most of the story, but where they're trapped in the military facility, when the younger cast are trapped in the military facility, and then Wolverine escapes, and like I thought that little bit, even though it was totally immaterial to the story, was kind of cool. But yeah, like it just you know, and there's some good moments in it, but the movie as a whole doesn't make sense. The other thing is, I thought the young lady who's played Storm, I think she's a much better Storm than Halle Berry ever was. I think Halle Berry, as great an actor as she was never suited to the character of Storm. But again, she's given fuck all to do in this film. I mean, other than Magneto, all the horsemen have no motivation. They have fuck all lines. They have fuck all to actually do in this film, and it just kind of makes that whole tension kind of boring in the end.
No, I agree. So, but like overall, this isn't a great harvest of comic book movies this year. I mean, wait a second. Is there any movie we haven't specifically touched on?
I don't think so. I mean, look, I think I'm like you. I probably loved Deadpool more than the others. You know, I really friggin' enjoyed Deadpool, and I think that's right up there. But yeah, look, I agree with you. It's not. There've been better years with superhero movies. This isn't the best we've seen. None of these.
Watching, just before we started talking, I was watching this interview with Tarantino or something, a cast reunion for Pulp Fiction from a few years ago. Just as a random thing, and I was like, man, really, like, we put this movie next to something like next to Pulp Fiction, next to Tarantino's stuff, next to something like that, and none of it is like even, you know, it's all shit. And I was like, why are we even doing this? And then I thought afterwards, like, well, put Kill Bill next to Sin City or The Watchmen, and actually those movies like that was actually pretty similar. Like, there's no reason that the content of comic books can't be made into good adult movies, you know, like, Deadpool, for me, I'm watching, I'm like, this is cool, but, you know, it's kind of, it's not a sort of like the kind of cinematic experience that I think I'm going to get from a fucking Scorsese film or, you know, something like that. It's not the same sport. It's not the same sport. But there are comic book movies that get there. Shouldn't expect anything less from the genre, you know, like like, I mean, Watchmen, Sin City, the first Sin City, like, they're really great comic book movies out there, and you should be able, like, a good comic book should make a good movie. You've got images, you've got blah blah blah, and you know, I think there's a lot of criticisms of the comic book movies are that they're lazy and that they're just going for, you know, they're just doing it for the money, that no one really cares about it. And I think we've seen it at that. And as you say, Deadpool stands out as there's a clear passion for the characters from some of the creators. So yeah,
I'm agreed on that. And yeah, look, there's those innovative movies. It's a shame about Sin City 2. That was a bit less. I thought that was a bit less successful, especially with the newer stories that they tried to do. But yeah, certainly there's no reason why And comic books, I think, are in a phase now where they're starting to look at, you know, let's see what we can fucking do. I mean, The Walking Dead is based on a comic book. You know, it wouldn't surprise me if somebody eventually tries to make a TV series out of something called Saga. They're making a lot of TV series out of comic books now. This is part of the golden age of television. And yes, some of them are a little bit lightweight, but others are a little bit more ambitious. So, I think that you're right. That we shouldn't just think of it as, this is just a comic book movie and that's it. I mean, look, Captain America, it's still, I mean, Winter Soldier, for instance. I mean, look, it's not like way up here, but for an action spy movie, you know, if we put it within the genre of action spy movies, it's pretty damn good. It'll stand up to most of those action spy movies, you know. So
definitely. Winter Soldier, I preferred Winter Soldier to say the Bourne movies. I thought the Bourne, I didn't really like the Bourne movies. That's a whole nother.
Well, I like the first one, and then the second one they made all these weak choices, and it just ruined it for me. They're different director in the first one to the second one, and Paul Greengrass has taken over since then. So since the second one, I've had no interest. I thought the first one was a bit more innovative, but yeah, look, Winter Soldier has a bit more to kind of say, and it's got you know, like I said, it's got that thing of, you know, I think of it as America's conscience, and you know, yeah, those old values. So it's in addition to having that good action, that side of things. We haven't seen anything on that level this year, but again, if we look within the genres, you know, action black comedy, you know, Deadpool's pretty up there. You know, I'd put that up there with probably Kill Bill or something like that. Although it's not the genre.
What's it called? Not Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. The Clive Owen one where he says, "Always eat your vegetables," and stab someone with the carrot.
Shoot 'em up. That's a great film.
Yeah. See, that's like, to me, Deadpool reminded me of that. It's got this like, and it's the same kind of like, we're doing it. You know, like, you can get off the train and want to watch like violence and crass humor. Like that's what's coming. And it delivers, right? What's interesting to me is, like, of course, The Watchmen is obviously an exception in what we're talking about here, but you know, with comic book movies, they tend to be better received when they're closer to the original, right? And I think, I mean, I'm going to go out the limb here and theorize a little and say that when they're going to change the comic book storyline, they should change it in a way that makes it easier for people who don't know the comic book, right? Like, they should change it in a way that makes the characters stand more easily standalone characters. Like you're saying, this other guy from Deadpool maybe don't have his whole backstory because it's too complicated for the plot of the format of a movie. Take, say, Jean Grey's character, Sansa Stark, an actress whose name we're probably going to have to get to know over the years now. Now that she's
Sophie Turner, I think her name is.
Sophie Turner, yeah. The thing about, like, her character, Jean Grey, right? Like, Alia was watching the movie, my wife was watching the movie, and she doesn't know the X-Men, and, like, at the end, when she becomes really important again, she's like, who is she? Because she's just like, I'm an awkward girl a little bit in the movie, and there's no real anything about her until at the end when everything. And I go, oh, she's Jean Grey. She's like this super mutant. She's like the fountainhead of all mutant power. She's like a magician is a normal mutant, and a sorcerer is Jean Grey, and that she's a source of magic that comes into the world. Like, there's all this mythology about her. You have to get to understand what's going on here, but it's still shit. When you know that, it's like, it's not that good either, right? Like, that's a place where they should have changed. I mean, I don't know how close they were sticking to this Apocalypse plotline, which is not the Age of Apocalypse plotline, which I was looking forward to. See, I thought they were gonna get, because they dropped back and fucked with time. They did some time shit. I was like, sweet, time travel. Here comes, that's the guy. And him and Magneto have this showdown in the comics, which was so awesome and cinematic. Bad guy who really like kills a whole bunch of people. Like he's basically holocausting the humans for the mutants to have the world themselves in that plot line. And Magneto kill every human, leave some humans, and it's a good plot line. But this is like, look, nothing's happening, you know?
Yeah. You know, you're saying that. What would have been really great is if, you know, Jean Grey, maybe she doesn't want to have people's voices in her head. She goes and, you know, says, look, I want to be changed. I want to be cured or something. And she becomes a horseman of the apocalypse. You know, shit like that would have been a little better. I don't know.
But that specific one would be too close to what they did with Last Stand, which, as you say, was a screaming hemorrhoid of a fucking movie.
Yeah. No, that is one of the worst movies of all time. It's The Last Stand. All right, man. Should we wrap it up, or?
Let's wrap it up.
Yeah. Right.
I think we thrashed the comic book movie horse thoroughly to death. Thanks everyone. Thanks to our one viewer who was with us for some time, and to anyone who ever watches this later. If you know this is done futurists, you know, good luck with that. Peace.